feature patrons Brody Harris and Lance Albertson. Thank you for your support. Enjoy the video.
Hey there, everybody. Welcome back to the Teacher's Lounge after a long week of Force of Will and some of us doing a lot of traveling. As you can notice that there's only two of us on screen right now. Frank should be joining us shortly, and we're going to be joined by special guest Stephanie Shaw as soon as she figures out how Discord works.
As soon as I figure out how Discord works, I don't know how that...
as soon as Ryan figures out how Discord works. As always, just let us know if there's any kind of issues with the audio or anything else. Just want to make sure I'm not sillily muted. Because I've done it before, and it looks like I might be.
Oh, hello.
Hopefully that whole thing. Oh, I just got super loud in your ears?
Yeah, you did.
Oh, sorry about that, buddy. Hopefully
I don't know.
That's a little bit better for you. Jeremy, you can't hear me. How about now? Is that a little better? Did my microphone just decide that it doesn't want to do anything? Can I be heard by people? There, you are a little bit. Ryan's super loud, and Jeremy is soft. Okay, we'll balance this out. We'll figure it out. This is what happens when I try to set up different setups on my stream rig. Stephanie is apparently joining us here in a second.
Should be in here soon.
We are going to be talking about a lot of interesting things here today. Specifically, I want to be talking about the 10K that happened this weekend from our different perspectives and different experiences. You and I obviously already talked a little bit during that little interview at the end. Congratulations again, by the way, for your win.
Thank you very much.
But I also just want to talk about maybe where we go from here, from the event, in terms of the rest of this season, the rest of what the season might hold for you, the rest of what you think, what we think should be the takeaway from this event for the players, but also for other people who are potentially looking to travel to WGPQs, as well as stores looking to get in on the WGPQ game, what that is going to look like, how we're going to make that work. Stephanie,
hey,
what up? Good to see you.
How's it going?
So we're just talking about kind of setting up those kind of topics for tonight. And then the second thing I want to talk about a lot is why having discussion like we do here on the Teacher's Lounge among your own group of people is important for growth as a person, especially a growth in your skill level and what you're doing on this whole thing that is Force of Will, that is what we do on a daily basis with card games. I'm going to try to adjust the screen here a little bit because we're all a little tiny thanks to only being three of us. But
never heard that in my life because I'm tall. That's why, guys.
It's it's fun. So sitting here in the room, we have the person who won the event, the person who judged the event, and the person who streamed the event. So
the three most important people in Force of Will is really what you're looking at right now, guys.
That's pretty much.
Just let it rain.
So let's talk a little bit about our different experiences. Ryan, we'll go ahead and start with you as a player. Your generalized experience of, so this is not like your matchups or anything. This is just your experience of the WGPQ, this new style of what this event was like. Why don't you go ahead and share that with us?
So it was definitely a little bit different having it be like a cash tournament on top of a Grand Prix. Like the only time we've ever had like the two overlap was at Nationals this year, where first place at Nationals not only got cash but also got a paid invite. But this event like really made it worth traveling out to, like, because Nationals is normally like in Philly or in Florida, which is a pretty cheap flight for me, but this was like a bit more of a journey. It's like 1,000 miles away for me personally, but it was still like 100% worth it. The buy system was pretty interesting, and again, we have had that at the ARG National Championship before. And I'm just a big fan of Force of Will, so I love playing like 9-round events. That makes it feel more like like the card games I used to play, like Magic Grand Prix, like Yu-Gi-Oh! Grand Prix, where you play like 9 rounds day 1, then like 2 rounds day 2, and then top cut. Like it was just like more Force of Will, and you had to have a deck that had even better matchups to be able to make it the long haul. And I just thought that was super cool. Overall, yeah, I think this was like my favorite Force of Will event ever. Also because I won and because the deck I played was really, really fun to play and not very fun for my opponents. But just like everyone there was like just super happy to be there. Everyone there was getting prizes. It was just like a really feels good event where everyone came over to something. It was just phenomenal. I had a blast.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm gonna go get something. Speaking of that,
getting something. I don't have any like fun stuff just hanging around. I just have my like worlds stuff. I'm sure he's getting some of the swag that from the event.
Oh yeah.
Here we go. What do you got for us?
I did. I just wanted to show everybody. because there was a lot of talk about people, in case they didn't watch the stream. So this is the special Energized coin that was given out, one of the two. So like you're talking about all these cool prizes. Here's the Lich coin, and then here's Hanzo Boy being all, I'm gonna throw a star at you. So like, and this was just like, these were given out for like 34th through 84th place, and these are already like super unique. So in terms of like, you're talking about prizes giving out, everything, like there was a lot of hype going around this whole event. It was awesome.
Yeah.
Second place is apparently in our chat room too. Okay.
Cal. I love Cal. Like, I've played against Cal at like 3 different Grand Prix. Like the first time was back in Ohio in the Prisciumiths format. And then like I scrubbed that event, and then I played him day 2 on the Wanderer event where he beat Alex Bland in round 1 and then beat me in round 2. And then like at another GP, I don't remember what the other GP was, but I played him again. Like I just played this man at every GP that we're at together. So when I saw him at this event, I'm like, hey Cal, we're gonna end up playing with each other. I guarantee it. And then we go through all of CIS. We're both at top 8. I'm like, Cal, we're playing in the finals. And then what do you know?
Yeah.
So moving on from the player experience, Steph, what was it like for you head judging like this beginning of the supposed 2019 season, being in 2018?
Well, it's definitely nervous because you want to start off the season with a really like good tournament, and I feel like it went well, which was nice. It was kind of a unique experience for me because even though I've head judged tournaments before, this was the first tournament I'd head judged and been company rep, and it's also the first tournament I had judged that had buys. So both of those were very big things, and so like I had to constantly be in contact with tournament organizer and scorekeeper in case they needed anything from the company rep side, and I also had to have my head judge role, which thankfully there actually weren't many appeals during the tournament. So for the most part, I could just stay behind the scenes helping out however I needed to help out. And but the number one thing was the buys. So that was the interesting thing. We had up to 3 buys, so there's up to 3 rounds you can add to the tournament. The Svetlana and I agreed pretty quickly that adding 3 rounds when only 2 people had 3 buys was pretty excessive, so that was off the table immediately. But it was between 1 and 2 rounds. We decided on 2 rounds, and then I think it actually went well for a 9-round tournament. We got out at I think 10 p.m., which I've had GPs that were 7 rounds that got out at 10 p.m. So or 9:30 or something. So having a 9-round tournament get out at 10 p.m. is pretty nice, and I felt like the top 8 went very smoothly, which is what I was most happy about.
Yeah, I also feel like top 8 went like perfect.
Absolutely perfect, 100%.
I mean, we're not talking just about the games, Ryan. We're talking about organizationally.
I only think about the game, Jeremy.
So to give you the viewers an idea, because they may not have known this, so day 2 was actually in the Games and Geeks local shop. It wasn't at the venue like the main event was. So we had a kind of limited amount of space, but we were able to take one of their long tables for a top 8 when we had 6. When you do a top 8 organization, you have to have 2 people playing each other and then a judge, and the 2 people playing each other and then a judge, and 2 people playing each other. So you actually have to have 5 rows of seating in order to actually be able to put out a top 8. So we had to take up an entire long table for top 8. And then once we got to top 4 and we only had 1 match, we were able to push it kind of off to a corner and then have the stream match in the other corner. And then the same thing for 3rd, 4th place match in finals. And it worked really, really well. And I was very happy.
I was super happy with how it went as well. Kudos to you and your judging staff, Steph. You guys ran a really tight ship. We had very minimal issues from what I could see from on top of the stage, so it was awesome. So I really hope that same level of quality, that same caliber of floor judging and smoothness of tournaments. I mean, Force Will in general, I feel like has never really had a ton of issues in terms of rulings, like being super high drama or lots of big issues. But like, let's keep it going into this 2019 season for sure. It's like there was 2 floor judges and a head judge for an 84-man event, which is like a little tight, but at the same time, it definitely felt like you guys totally handled it pretty well. So let's keep that train of smoothness rolling. So coming to it from the streamer side, like I had an absolute blast. Like this was a super awesome event. There was a ton of fun players. We didn't have any technology issues except for some weird internet bugs that were going on, and I don't know what was going on with that. But like people were active in the chats. We streamed to both Twitch and YouTube simultaneously, and that was awesome. The stream matches were all fun. So there were 16 rulers represented, and we saw in just day 1 we saw 10 of them, which was awesome. And we never had to go lower than a person with 2 losses, and that was only once. So like we were actually still sitting at like the higher end of the day for pretty much the whole day, and we didn't show a single mirror match all tournament.
Excellent.
That doesn't sound like a lot, but as someone who streamed all year last year,
Sherry mirrors, yeah.
just like nothing but like Sherry mirrors or what we were afraid Worlds was going to be, like having an entire tournament of no mirrors was absolutely gorgeous. And like all the people who were on stream were super great. Ryan only kicked my camera once. It was awesome.
It wasn't even me. It was Steven.
I know it wasn't even you. But like people had a blast. We got some new players up on there. I got to meet some people who were fans of the channel. Like that was exactly how I want. I had guest commentators come in. We had mini break time. My only complaint was that Steph added 2 rounds, so I was super tired by the end of the day. But it's fine. We made it. Like. All in all, and like watching, so the way we were positioned, for those of you, I mean, obviously you weren't there, but we had a stage because it was a ballroom, so the commentator's booth was up on the stage, so I just got to watch players all day from like up in this position. And the coolest thing was when we're playing in Forcible events, usually around 4, 5, like in GPs, it's pretty much that like maybe half of the field is still playing. Like a lot of people drop to go play in Winnabox side events or just to drop to go get food and leave. But like, I think by the end of the tournament, we still had 74 players playing out of the 84. Like, so like to see round after round after round, all of these tables flooded with people having a blast playing Force of Will, and then also getting to watch the stream and getting to interact with the chat. Like, it was awesome. It was super great, and I'm super excited to keep doing more. And all of my tech worked, so like, although rip my mouse, it was the only thing that died. I don't have a mouse anymore.
God bless mouse. You did your best.
So this is, I think that's really awesome that all 3 of us from all the 3 different spaces, and I think if we talked to every player who was there, they would also say that they had a blast. Like I had people who probably took 3 losses, like even Billy, who unfortunately didn't do so very well and dropped rather early, still had a blast hanging out with everybody. And I just think that speaks to, I almost kind of think the atmosphere of the WGPQ felt more fun than the WGP, like than GP atmosphere. Maybe it was the venue, maybe it was the people, maybe it was the prizing, but it felt less tense and just everybody was just going for it. Like everyone's just having a blast.
Yeah,
it was more focused on fun than competitive aspect or whatever.
Yeah, absolutely. And so like that was awesome, and I think that makes me really excited for what this next, like the coming season holds. So with that as a launching point, we don't have any information at this point as to what those other 7 WGPQs are going to look like. So as us 3 with our background in having been organized play for a long time, helping to run organized play, helping to stream organized play, helping to judge it. What do you guys think stores who are interested in getting in on this are going to need to do, or like what should they put forward, and what should the players do with their stores to motivate them to say, hey, we should push to try to get one of these events at our store? Because I think that it's a two-pronged effort. So I think that's a relevant discussion for us to have.
I think. Oh, you can go ahead, Ryan.
Oh, I just wanted to say I love these questions because I was asking these myself today. I texted my brother. I'm like, AJ, how do we get our local game store to have a Grand Prix? Because I'm already excited for the next one. Like I'm so glad that we have the tournaments during this like off season where it's no longer an off season. Like I just want to know when the next GP is going to be. I want to go back. I don't even care if it's got as many prizes as Svetlana's. Like I just want to play more Force of Will. The format was super fun. Like hanging out there was great. Like just how do we get more of these going? You know. So answer, Steph, please. I'm interested because I want to know.
I think the number one thing, I think that even though obviously the Svetlana and Landon were amazing in terms of their prizing that they offered, I don't think prizing is necessarily the number one thing that you have to worry about. I think the big thing is the number one thing is you have to be able to rent a venue for day one. I mean, if you have like the biggest store in the world, maybe you could, but you have to be able to plan for over 150, even if you don't necessarily get that. And so if you can do that for day one, it does not matter. Like Games and Geek was at their local store. So as long as you can handle 30 people day two, it's not a big deal in your shop. So like even I've been to Ryan's local store. So like Ryan's local store, that'd be fine for day 2 or whatever. But obviously it couldn't be fine for day 1. So like day 1, I think the most important thing is that you are able to rent a venue. You have the capital to rent a venue. That is the number one thing. Then if you can provide cash pricing, this is specifically an American thing, but if you provide cash pricing, I think that's really big for the US. Obviously, if you can do other cool things like the energized coins that Jeremy showed, those things were amazing. So like the Hanzo and the Lich, those things were absolutely amazing. So like that kind of stuff, if it's cheaper for you, you could do that kind of thing. As I said, pricing isn't as important because you do get the World's invites and stuff like that.
Yeah, and the Malaysia guys love to help out. Like I know that Alan and his crew, like they told me at Gen Con this year that they really want to help support the United States. So
that's amazing.
That's definitely an avenue. So like it's not like Svetlana's super special, so she's the one who only gets these coins. Like people can get them, so that's an avenue for people.
I think so too. What do you think, Brian? What's your answer to this?
Can you repeat the question one more time? Because I was
so it's kind of a two-pronged. What do stores need to be doing internally or need to know to push themselves to run this event, like to be prepared to run this event, to advocate for themselves to be given one of these events? And what can stores or what can players do to entice their stores to get in on the action in terms of putting that effort in to get one of these events? Because it's not just going to be freebies. Like
right.
There's a lot of stores. I think there's well over, at this point in time, well over 150, potentially 200 stores that have registered with the new organizational system. Like that's 200 people who are all fighting for 7 events. So how do you get it?
I think at least from the player's side, it's really just about showing the store how much people actually care about this game. Because, a lot of stores have kind of gone through the swings of, Forceful has been kind of going down in popularity, but in reality, stores don't have structure decks anymore because they're selling out immediately. That's if you just show them do you have Forceful products? No, we had some, but then it was all gone. Yeah, exactly. Hello. I know my store doesn't buy and sell singles anymore, and they don't have anybody works at the store that understands Forceful well, but that's just I think that would be good for stores. Any store that sells singles, I'm sure Svetlana, I know between entry fees and then venue fees, and then giving out cash prizes, the store lost money in that sense, but by how much she was selling product and singles and sleeves and stuff like that, I'm sure it definitely ended up positive for her in some capacity. So I think obviously the store wants to keep their player base entertained, but they also want to make money off of an event like this. They're going to be 2 days. So I think just the fact that the product is selling out consistently, having players communicate that, and then saying a lot of people want to play these events. People will travel to come to your store to buy stuff from your store to play these events. That's kind of where you have to let them know that this is a game people care about.
Yeah, and I think on top of that, it's important for stores, I think, to recognize, and I think that Svetlana was able to do what she did in terms of this intensity because they have been playing this long game for a long time, longer than a lot of the stores that I think that are jumping kind of in now. Is Svetlana has been running 1K after 1K after 2K after 3K. She has been progressively building the hype, knowing that she's probably been running at a loss for this amount of time. And like you said, this event, I was talking with Landon afterwards, and he was so happy with how this event went. So I can't imagine that this event didn't run them in the black. But you have to think about the fact that they have been investing until now, and ultimately for stores that are looking for this idea of wanting to build up to be able to get one of these WGPQs, I'm not saying you have to do it to the extent that they have, because not everyone has the capital, but recognize that you need to be in for the long game. The stores that are going to get these consistently year after year as this goes forward are going to be the stores that go into the long game, and ultimately the way you entice players to build up a player base is by running in the red for a little bit, because you have to just recognize that it's not going to make you money out the gate, but you want to support the game and grow it to the point where it becomes a steady run in the black. It's like the idea of business. Typical businesses will run in the red for the first 5 years.
Yeah.
You're not going to stop after year 1 and go, man, I'm in the red. I'm not in the black. I guess I'm done. You're going to go, nope, 4 more years to go until I'm finally starting to see that black, and then it's worth it. And I think that there have been players that have lived that life as a player in terms of expected value from Forza Will, but also with these stores that are jumping in, recognize that investing is worth your time, because Svetlana is proof now of what happens when you invest, and recognize that like you actually need to invest. Like you can't not invest and hope that it takes care of it for itself. Now, as players, until Force of Will gets marketing really where it needs to be, which is they're working on it. That's something they're pushing for, I have to believe. We kind of have to be the marketing. Like, you have to be a walking, talking advertisement in terms of how much fun you had at this event, how much fun players were having, how much successful it is. Like you said, stores are selling out of product. Like, prices on the singles market are going up and stabilizing. Prices on product are going up and people are selling out. Like, we have to kind of be the advocates as players, and you have to show your store that if they put in the time and you are willing to step with them, that you're going to get your money back. Like, you're definitely going to get it. It's just going to take time.
Absolutely.
So, I think another thing. Go ahead. Okay.
Go ahead.
I think another thing for stores is that, so when I used to work at a store, what we would do is if you take and I think this is the same at Ryan's store too. If you take the entry fees and you take all the entry fees and reward them to people as store credit, you still get all the entry fees in. So it's like pretty safe proposition for you, but then the players still get something for winning, so they're still getting things that they're already buying, like deck boxes and sleeves and stuff like that. So it's a pretty safe proposition for the store. The players are happy, and then you can build up your locals by having some kind of enticement to play in locals. And I think that's a really important thing to do for Force of Will, because if you don't have the Force of Will locals, it's really hard to actually build up people buying stuff at your store, obviously, and then turning that into a WGPQ later down the road.
Yeah, absolutely. You have to get the traction going. You have to get the people wanting to come into your store, and you have to do it in such a way that's safe for you, but also recognizing that it's not going to be like, oh man, stacks on stacks of money right out the gate.
Absolutely.
Like, it's not happening. But I mean, like,
that's true for every game, right?
Exactly. That's not a Force of Will exclusive thing. And I think that we're finally starting, and I think that this event in particular is very key in helping show stores and store owners and players that this slow start, this slump that Force of Will has, this need to invest, ultimately is not a Force of Will thing. Ultimately, it's a new game thing. So, like, it's not like this stigma that's just happened to Force. Like, every game goes through this. But, like, mechanically, I still have yet to play a game that's as mechanically awesome as Force of Will is. Artwork-wise, like, I mean, everybody has different tastes, but this artwork is gorgeous. The product itself is so high quality. The way the company rewards players is so invested. Like, it's had its hiccup, but it's not a Force of Will hiccup. It's a new game hiccup. So, like, we need to shift the dialogue away from that it's a Force of Will exclusive problem when it's really just a new game thing that everyone goes through.
Yeah, everyone has balance issues. I mean, like, you look at Magic, they've had, what, in the last 2 years?
They still have balance issues.
What, like 6 standard cards banned? So, like, every card game deals with it at some point. Pokemon even. Pokemon was the game that everyone knew was the card game that nobody ever banned cards in it was called Modified at the time, and then Standard. But even they banned Lissandra's Trump card, which was like a Horn of Sacred Beast shuffle effect kind of thing. So even they have had to ban cards in Standard. So it's not a Force of Will specific thing at all. Yeah.
But we're entering a golden age. I think the WGPQ model, if players do their part and more so stores recognize that the investment pays off, I think this is going to be a potential huge explosion for this game. But I just don't think we can let it simmer. I don't think we can let it temper itself after Games and Geeks event. I think we have to take that explosive momentum and just drive it forward even further.
I absolutely agree.
Yeah.
So speaking to that, I guess it's kind of a launching point. I guess as you guys in the chat, I'm seeing things like a store like what is it? Oregon feels like a little bit of a dead zone. Just talk to your store. Let's see, Hazunaki 666. talk to your store and see if you can even just run a demo day. Like, see if they'd be willing to like just go and sleeve up some of your own structure decks if you have them, and just like say, hey, all I want you to do for today is just advertise that we're teaching this game, and maybe throw some promos to people who sit down with me and play a game for a couple hours. Like, that kind of thing. It's tiny, and it takes a lot of time, but even as players have to recognize that we're not going to sit down for a demo day and bring in 25 players. But like 2, 3, okay, come back the next time, do another 2, 3. Come the next time, do another 2, 3. We can get there. Sam, I wish my local shop would listen to us. We've been trying to push for tournaments again, but the employees just don't want to run them or kick us out halfway through a match. So that sounds like a store problem, and I don't know why that store is doing it, but maybe sit down and have a conversation with your store owner about, like, why are you doing this? Like, we're paying patrons. Why are you kicking us out? Because it sounds like that store has some other problems with you that maybe they're not discussing.
Yeah, they do sell well to us. It's actually my local store too, because me and Sam both live in Dallas. But I don't know. They sell well to us too, so I don't know if there's like some internal issue.
Yeah, that seems like an internal thing rather than a force of will related thing. But please keep those comments in as we're kind of talking about it. If you have questions about maybe picking our brains about how to maybe hype the game at your store, or some stuff you're dealing with. But I did want to kind of reach into our second topic of the night, which is discussing why discussion is worth discussing. So discussion of why having a meaningful conversation on a consistent basis and talking about the game, talking about how your experiences are, talking about the things that you're struggling with the game, with people, rather than just internally, why that's super important and how that actually is a better way for you to grow than anything else. I saw this very interesting video earlier today from the Vlog Brothers talking about why people are suddenly getting better at Tetris. Like, and how the game Tetris has been out for so long, but over time, the same players, their skill cap is increasing steadily. Like, and even older players are abandoning their old ways in favor of what's being discussed now. And it was just talking about, because these people who are so passionate about a very selective concept are talking and learning about it from each other and forming these communities to learn about it from each other. They are all inspiring each other and motivating each other through that discussion and growing, and everybody's benefiting. And I think that same concept applies to when you're talking about trading card games like Force of Will. So I know a lot of people, and like, I think we can all attest, because we've all been to events together, what's the first thing we do when we're done? Like with any match, we find someone else and we talk about it. Like, we talk about what happened, we talk about how it went, we talk about what went wrong, and we listen to each other in feedback. But like, there are other players who I've seen at events consistently who don't. They just sit in a corner and do nothing. And while I think that there is some merit to like taking some time emotionally to maybe process a loss, the best way to learn is to just get in there and talk about it. And I think, that's why I wanted to start the Teacher's Lounge, to have you guys all, like the people who are watching, just be able to sit and observe and listen from a group of players who who mostly know what they're talking about, mainly pointing at myself, talk about and learn from each other so that you guys can learn too. And so I guess I kind of wanted to hear a little bit about from the chat's perspective as well as from you guys' perspective, like, what is it about discussion that you think really contributes to growth in terms of like trading card games or just in general?
Are you talking more in terms of skill growth or in terms of okay. So when I have a good example. So when I was at Ohio, it was a year and a half ago, me and Ryan were actually on the same team at the time on Tilt. And I remember after I played, so I was playing this blue-based feasting Gwyber list, and I played against this mono-white 0 player. And I remember Ryan came up to me afterwards and was like, you played too much into your own game plan. He's like, all you had to do was just build up a whole bunch of elves, flip, and you just automatically won that game too. And you ended up drawing, or I think I actually ended up losing, because like game 3 I just got killed. So game 2, because I went too much into the Gwyber game plan and walked into what he wanted me to be doing, I ended up actually losing the game that I should have just won by overperforming in elves or whatever. So then it was just something where it's like, I know that if I get into a same situation like that again, I can kind of just fix that. So next time I will be, just putting a whole bunch of elves flipping and then swinging with a whole bunch of 5/5 elves, essentially. So, I mean, that's the thing. So it's like you do that every time. And I think that also talking about things, even if it's not like he was watching my match because he was done with his, but even when you're talking about something, even if you're the first person to finish, I had another match that day I hit All Hamat spinning miss. And I don't know, people who didn't play in that time, All Hamat was not the spinning miss deck, okay? So that came out of nowhere. I got blown the hell out. I just flooded the field with Guybrush. I was like, you cannot kill me this turn. And I have like 36 power on the board. And he just Izanagi'd my whole board. And I got absolutely blown out. So then afterwards, I was talking about the match. And as I was talking about it, I kept replaying and playing. And so I was kind of thinking about every time I talked about it, I thought about new ways that I could have handled it. And each person that I talked to about it also asked me specific different questions. And that was the important thing. So every time somebody would ask me a different question, I was like, oh, this is a different way I could think about this situation, how I could have played it differently, how I could have played it safer than how I actually did play it. And I think that's a really important thing when you talk about things. When you process it just yourself, you only get your own input. And your own input was what made you lose the game in the first place. So sometimes it's really obvious. Sometimes it's really obvious. Like sometimes you just make a misplay and you're like, oh, I should have left open this attribute. I should have left open a water will or wind will instead of water will or whatever. But a lot of the time it can be a lot more intricate. And so when you make a mistake and you don't necessarily know what your mistake is, the more people you talk to, the more you can start realizing, oh, this is what they're seeing, and that makes sense of why this play was wrong.
Yeah, kind of like piggybacking off of that, like you're just a person, like people are very finite human beings. Like anytime someone approaches a situation, even if you consider yourself like an open-minded person, like you're still going to see something with a very like bland view, and just like engaging in discussion with other people helps you see more than like your first impressions on a situation. So when it comes to card games and even just talking about them, one of the reasons that I love talking about card games so much and being on podcasts and making my own videos and just talking to everyone at events is because my ego is the size of a blimp, but also because it also helps me learn like from other people. I like being on teams. I've been on a couple different teams now, but like I'm always like, even at work, I'm just like posting on Facebook or like messaging group chats, just being like, hey, what do we think about this idea? Because like I'll just like get ideas in my head and I'm like, okay, this is what I think about like this deck that I've seen before, or this is what I think about maybe this idea could be good. And I just want to understand other perspectives to see like what, just get different ideas in my own head, because my brain can only generate so many ideas by itself. And there will always be other things that I will never think of because I'm only a human, I've only got so much capacity to think. So like you said with the Tetris example, like one person cannot solve Tetris. Like you can maybe solve tic-tac-toe if you have like a calculator or something, or, game theory or whatever. But like Tetris is a game where it's been the same game for 30 years, but the way that you play it and the way that, you can take a network of human brains and try and solve it versus a single person, that's where you start getting a lot farther along.
Yeah,
I do consider myself a very good Forcible player, but I'm always thinking like, man, what if a Magic pro like suddenly invested all of their time into Forcible? Like, would I be able to beat that person? And I think the answer is probably no. Like, I think that I'm a very good Forcible player, but in terms of an overall card game player, like if I transferred to Magic and put as much time into Forcible as I do into Magic, or even more time, I probably still wouldn't be as successful in Magic as I was in Forcible. So like that's kind of what drives me to constantly get better, and why I always want to, like, my community is the Forcible community, so I always want to take every ounce of knowledge I can out of everyone else so that I can improve my own game as much as possible and improve my own plateau.
Yeah, and I think you hit on the point that I was going to go with in terms of making a neural network.
Exactly,
right?
Yeah.
Because if you think about it even in a more like concrete visualization, one candle only produces so much light. Two candles by themselves produce the same amount of light. But when two candles are held close together, they actually produce way more. Like it actually shows way more than if I held like two candles way out like this. If I put two candles right next to each other, the brightness intensifies like even to a greater extent. So when you're looking at thinking about the big picture, trying to comprehend everything, trying to look at it all, it makes way more sense to get as many candles as close together as you possibly can, so you can see everything as clearly as you can. And I think Force of Will is the same thing. Like when you're processing a game after the fact, you are one candle looking at the picture. But as the more people you talk to and the more people you pick at, you get to illuminate it more. You get to illuminate the picture more and more and more and more. And when you can fully understand the picture, then you can figure out how to solve it. I just don't think that we're capable of doing that. And so I think my buddy Paul, he and I, for example, back when I was on Team Ogre, I was also constantly talking with so many people. Ryan, I talk to you as well all the time, like constantly trying to process new ideas and everything else. And then my buddy Paul, when he first came into the game, I was talking about all these concepts that I had like learned and had illuminated to me through that discussion, and he was just staring at me like blank-eyed. He was like, "I do not get what you're talking about." Even trying to play the game, I was seeing so many more play lines than he was. And it wasn't that he was bad, but it was the fact that that neural network for him hadn't started activating yet. He hadn't been able to start networking in that way and really enhancing himself. And now when we play, he's way, way better. Like his skill is significantly improved. His engagement and discussion is significantly improved. But it's because he had that experience. It's because he started in discussion, found the points, and built the network that he's gotten there. And so that's why I think I encourage so many people to get in on the Facebook community, get a bunch of people that you can talk to together. Like, just do it, because like even if the conversation is stupid, like even if like what is the last like incredibly stupid idea that I pitched to you guys? I think I pitched
so many.
That's true, but like. So I remember when we were first talking about rotation, I pitched the idea of Welser, right?
Yes,
this was like,
Welser.
Color fixing, right? And I was like, yeah, in my mind, with my little picture, it was like, yes, color fixing's gone. The Majins actually have some pretty decent effects. You don't have to worry about color. And I brought it up to the Ruler School guys, the Teachers Lounge guys, and they were all like, Jeremy, that's really, think about it. Here are all these other contradictory points in cards that I didn't think of. And I was like, yeah, you're totally right. But I wouldn't have thought about those things, and I probably would have built a really subpar deck if I had gone that route. And now I actually understand more why it's not good. Like, I actually understand the process of it, but I would have never had that if I hadn't had people to ping ideas off of.
Yeah, and that's... Oh, go ahead.
Okay. The thing I was going to talk about is even at a tier 1 deck level, even when you're talking about building these tier 1 decks, a lot of times these decks are built through multiple people building them. And the biggest example I have is I remember, so back in March when Maribella was first spoiled, like Ryan Miles was like, I want Maribel in something. Like, I want Maribel in literally everything.
I love that card.
And so he was trying to find somewhere to put Maribel in. And then our mutual friend Jimmy Osborne made this Sylph Fiery Fox build. And it was cool. It wasn't tier 1, but it was cool. And we saw a lot of potential in it, and especially the Fiery Fox engine. And so then Ryan was like, well, Fiery Fox and Maribel, that's really good. And then meanwhile, I'm sitting here telling the whole team chat how 4 Jack, 2 Giant is the future of Force of Will. and
Like,
so
no,
Ryan's
that can't
like,
be right.
That can't be right. So Ryan's like, because I at the time we had World Push. That was like the build that I had. And they were on the way to Montreal, and they were going to play World Push, but they were like, it hasn't been like perfect. Like, there's been a lot of things that are exploitable in the deck. And so Ryan was like, what do you side in when you side in Jack Prisha against, or Jack into the Prisha against the control and stuff? And I said 4 Jack 2 Giant. He was like, I was thinking 2-1. I was like, no, you have to go 4-2. So he puts in the Fiery Fox Maribel.
Oh, she's gone. Or is that my internet? Ryan, you still there? No.
Yeah, we have to wait for Jeremy, I think.
Yeah, I don't know what happened there. My internet just decided to die. I think I'm back.
Yeah, I think you're back now.
That was real weird. 4 Jack 2 Giant, Steph. That was the last moment we heard you.
Yeah, so 4 Jack 2 Giant was what I told him to side in. Ryan was going to side in 2-1. And I was like, you have to go 4-2. You have to commit to it. So he built the main board with my 4-2 line and Jimmy's Fiery Fox line with his Maribella, which worked really well. And then we just put it into the overall Prisha package. So the Regalia, the Sacred Elves, the Guinevere's, the Rook Eggs, etc. And the Rook Egg can get Maribella. I mean, there's just a lot of little synergies with it. And it ended up being that Jack Giant list, which got on tilt 3 of the top 4 in Montreal, including, Aaron winning the event.
Yeah.
And I think that
I experienced it. It was good. Yeah. It was a good deck.
Yeah. So you even the top teams in the top tier decks, when they are built between multiple people. Even when I have these like crazy ass decks that I bring out, not necessarily that great. 4-color time spinning witch list, I still think it's better than people thought, but it's not. It wasn't tier 1. Okay, I was playing for a meta without as much glint. I was playing for like thought control instead of glint, but whatever. Anyways, my whole point is that those kind of, you still work with your team. You still get ideas off your team, because if I had gone originally, I would have brought a 3-color time spinning witch list, which would never have been Sharia. Like I would have literally never be in any Sharia list ever in my entire life. So, and the same thing happens with Victor and Frank. We like bounce ideas off each other all the time in R&D. Same thing in Until. Anytime I had an idea, sometimes it would get just completely shut down. Like my Battle 1 idea, Ryan was just like, I'm going to play you and beat this out of you. But like he still gave it the shot, right? He still showed, and that's important. It's just important to bounce things off so that you know when things are ridiculous and you know when things are workable, and then you know how to make them work if you need to.
Yeah, and I also think that like even when everybody has the same list, even when a list has been like peaked, there is still so much more to be able to learn from each other. Like I was speaking with Brandon, who couldn't make it with us tonight, because he had a play line turn where he could have done time spinning witch and Mosasaurus in the same turn, and so I went up to him later and I was like, dude, why don't you do time spinning witch Mosasaurus? He's like, why? They would just overlap each other, and I was like, no. It's not how that works. Like you double dutch it. But the reason why I knew about that was because I watched Ryan do it. Like, so here was and you guys were on like exact same list, like right, pretty much near identical. So like this is what we're talking about. This is what we're talking about in terms of there is always something to learn from somebody else, even if you're running the same cards. There's always something that you can learn. So just like you just need to get to it.
I thought dinosaurs were bad. Like so when I played in
everyone does
I
for
didn't
some
have
reason.
any dinosaurs. So yeah, well when I was testing with it, the dinosaurs were always like either superfluous, like in the Keurig matchup, you won whether you had the dinosaurs or not. If you built for Keurig, obviously, my game 1 was horrible for Keurig, but me siding in white cards and me siding in Mosasaurus had the same effect against Keurig. So like a lot of it was like really superfluous, and then there's certain decks where Mosasaurus was just absolute trash, and so like that's how I always thought about it. But then I saw Ryan was playing with it in Collinsville, and I saw it in the new meta, and then me and Ryan playtested for a while. I mean, it's my shield list. Who gives a shit? It's a terrible list. But like,
that tune has changed.
To get like to get reps against time spinning witch is the only deck I had. So I just got reps against time spinning witch. I watched it over and over and over again, and I was like, okay, I changed my opinion a little bit on dinosaurs. Like I think that they are playable in this format. I think they're actually very highly playable in this format, to be honest. Whereas before I always thought, between Lorate and between, well, I mean, you have Keys' Call too, but mainly Lorate. It was just, especially against Gil, being able to retrieve the Lorates infinitely, essentially. Like, I just didn't think that Mosasaurus, it just provided another exploitable thing. You have the Lorates for the distortion, you have the Lorate for the Mosasaurus, but he showed me how it overwhelms it. So even when I have like Keys' Call for the Mosasaurus, the deck overwhelms it. There's so many angles they come at you with, and most decks won't have enough Lorates to deal with everything in the deck.
Because Keys' Call isn't a removal spell.
Exactly. You just have it's like, okay, you stopped my Mosasaurus, and they're like, yeah, I did, and it's like, all right, well, here's my 15-10. They're like, oh, I guess I have to spend mana to kill that. Like, yep, you do. Congrats, you killed it, Mosasaurus. They're like, oh. I didn't have another Lord. Like, that's kind of what happens. But I did want to talk about like what you were saying earlier, Jeremy, and then what Steph was saying. So for Steph, like with what she's saying, like I was obsessed with Mariabella. She was obsessed with Jack Giant, and then our friend Jimmy was obsessed with Fiery Fox himself. And it was like literally just like 3 separate ideas that because we talked to each other, like I don't think any of us would have found. And like the deck was built the night before the event. Like it was a 2 a.m. deck list, 100% of the way.
Told me about that.
And it was just all these ideas coming together absolute last minute. So like it's definitely like testament to how discussion can kind of just get these ideas going.
Yeah, and now we have our faces on a promo card.
I'm the skyscraper giant now.
He's the skyscraper giant. I'm the Jack in the skyscraper giant. It's great.
But also, you were saying, Jeremy, like the Welser thing, like you definitely would have probably, I imagine, figured out that Welser was not good if you built the deck and then took it to locals a couple times. But like the time difference that it would take you to do that versus just having an hour-long discussion with like 2 people versus playing for like maybe 4 to 6 hours, like it's just a lot quicker. And who even knows how long it would take for you to like see all the different matchups and why they would be difficult in one way or another. So like really like discussion can just kind of like fast forward your progress, even though you would kind of get there on your own eventually. Like,
right.
We're all here for a finite amount of time. We got finite brains, got to make shit work while you have it.
It's about that processing speed, right? You bring more things together, the processing speed goes faster.
Exactly.
And so it's just the nature of, it's like trying to calculate how, take a little Apple 2GS, which was, I'm showing my age, super old original computer, but like trying to use that as opposed to taking like 4 iPhones and sitting them next to each other and being like, okay, calculate something. Like just the sheer advancement. Eventually that Apple 2GS will figure out how to take that math problem and solve it. The problem becomes you will be dead before that Apple 2GS finishes that math problem.
Bitcoin with an Apple 2GS, yeah.
Exactly. So like you'll get there eventually, but there's no harm, there's no negative to bumping up and adding more processors to the conversation. Like that's one of the things that I think personally has vanished from Force of Will, outside of like the absolute secretest of spice that someone's bringing as like a tech 1 or 2 of, in the fact that like everybody that I know is very open about like what ruler they're looking at. Like nobody has been like, oh, I'm not gonna tell you. Like I can pretty much tell you walking into an event, like, yep, he's on this ruler. I don't know the list, but I know he's on this ruler. I know he's on this ruler. I know he's on this ruler. And it's not that I'm guessing. It's just that people are open about it because there's actually no downside to it. Like
there's not.
It's just straight benefit.
You draw or mulligan before you sideboard. I mean, like there's literally. The ruler itself, you'll know all information before you even play a game.
It's just about like preparing like sideboard stuff. Like
exactly.
Yeah, that's the only advantage I could imagine at this point.
But so like I totally get people wanting to keep their sideboard list a little bit secret or figuring out what their tech cards are. Sure, but like I have yet to see people not, especially now, like it's kind of gone away. Like it's teetered off over the years. Like people are just comfortable talking about what they want to run. And like even at the high tier level, there doesn't really seem to be that secrecy, and I just think overall the player base has benefited from it. Like overall skill has actually, I think, started to really increase because we're not being secretive anymore. Like discussion is just happening and it's great.
I think as the general community gets better, it will help the top level players get better in return because they want to stay ahead, or like, or else they end up getting mixed in with everybody else as like everyone else gets better. And I think that's just good for competition. So that's like, that's like why I like to do these kind of things, is like I want everyone to get better so that I can get better like in turn,
Yeah. A rising tide carries all boats.
That's exactly. That's what I was thinking.
So we all get better when we all chip in. So with that kind of out of the way, I'm kind of seeing other. Cal just wants to win fast. So people are kind of sharing some of my thoughts as we go. Steph, I challenge you to a game of name the card effect.
Oh God, I may not know, but go ahead.
Ready to go.
So here goes.
Oh, Jeremy's got it.
So the way this game works is we have you picked 10 cards. Yes,
I picked
Ryan?
10. Yes, I got
10 cards. There are 10 cards starting with as far back as 7 Kings of the Land.
Oh, I'll know this better.
Okay, so it's starting at 7 Kings of the Land forward, and it goes. So we both put our hands kind of like down so we can't be seen. We buzz in by raising our hand, and you have to give the cost of the card, the actual cost of the card. If it's a resonator, the stat line of the card, and what it does.
Okay.
In order to earn a point. So 10 cards is he who can earn the most points.
All right.
So here we go. Ready? Yeah, let's go.
I'm gonna get a scoreboard down on my my piece of paper here so we can keep track. So all right, 10 cards. No, I've got them in what I think is relative order of difficulty. I would probably get around like 3 of these correct myself, maybe 4. Okay. So that's what we got. We're gonna start off pretty simple. The card is Charm of the Princess. Ooh. I think I gotta get that one to Jeremy.
It is a spell chance, 1 blue and X. Take control of target resonator your opponent controls with total cost X.
Less? Not correct. Not correct.
Oh, jeez.
Okay,
yep.
It's a chant or a little spell chant if you want to go by the old typing, and it's blue X.
Ah!
Does indeed.
2 blue. I concede that point.
All right, so it's going to be 1 point going over to Steph. That is correct. Yeah, you pay blue, and X, and then you take
Blue,
control
blue,
of the
X.
resonator for X.
That was my Worlds format, so like,
Yeah.
I know that card.
All right, next card is Circle of Trust.
Oh, I know this card. I just
Circle of Trust. Oh,
this,
it's from. I know what set it's from.
I know what it does.
It's
I'm
from
just trying to think of the
BFA.
cost.
It is from BFA.
I don't know. I know that the cost. I think the cost is double green, Steph. So if you have it, I'll let you go. Because
No,
I
it's-
don't remember the
No,
effect.
sorry, I know the cost. I'm trying to
Oh wait,
remember the
Circle
full
of
effect.
Circle of Trust.
Yeah.
Circle of Trust.
Okay, I'll try to answer it, but
All
I'm
right.
sure that
Steph is
Jeremy's
buzzing
gonna get
in.
it once I like screw
Attempt.
this
Feed it.
All right.
Yeah.
It's a chant. It's double white,
Mhm,
and then
mhm.
it's non-quick cast, and it has so it's just a regular chant, and then it has choose one, search your deck for a fairy and put it in your hand, or search your deck for a fairy and put it in your hand. If you're Alice, search your deck for 2 fairies and put it in your hand. Is that what it is?
Not exactly, no.
I knew it was close.
But you're on the right track. It is
I think
Oh,
it
I know
just.
what it is.
I think it just searches for 2 fairies out the gate, or if your right ruler is the Alice one, you can get like a field pump instead.
No, I know
Not
what it is. I
exactly.
know what it is now. All right, it's a
All right.
double white chant,
Okay.
and it says search your deck for 2 fairies and put it in your hand. If your ruler is Alice, reduce her God's Art by white.
None of these are correct, guys.
I can't get
but
it from there.
You're pretty close, though. You're absolutely on the right track. So what it is, it's double white, spell chant. Choose one. Search your main deck for up to 2 fairy resonators. Reveal them to put your hand. Or all fairy resonators you control get +4/+4 till end of turn.
Oh,
There's
so
no-
there just
I
wasn't
got
a
Mobile's
ruler.
spell.
Okay.
yeah, there's no
Yeah.
ruler. But I'll go ahead and give Jeremy half a point for that one.
Woo! I have half a point.
It was
I just know because it was on a Wanderer ban list in some random city in the United
Was it really?
States.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Wanderers, those OP, those fairies, OP Wanderer cards. Anyway,
Well, you wouldn't even
All right.
ban Circle of Trust if you're trying to ban fairies.
Our next card, I feel like Steph might actually have an advantage on this card just based on our discussion today. What this card is, Rapid Shot.
oh wait, nope.
Oh, I know it is.
Nope.
Okay.
All right, Steph.
So it's a chant with it's red green,
Mhm,
and it says I'm gonna figure out whether it's quick cast or not in a second, but it
Okay.
is it deals damage to X resonators, which is equal to the number of windstones you control. This is up to X is equal to the wind resonators you control, and then a total damage of 200 times the number of firestones you control, split between those X resonators however you want, and then it
Not
does have
yes,
quick
I don't
cast.
think- I
That
don't
is
think it does.
absolutely correct. It does have quick
Oh,
cast.
oh,
That
yeah,
is-
okay.
That is
Take
Oh
your
my
point.
gosh, because I never played that card. I didn't like it, but we talked about it infinitely in on-sale chat, and I
Yeah.
couldn't remember that quick.
It is a red-green card that was kind of like a sideboard card for Priscilla, so I was like,
Yeah.
this Mary Bell discussion all day. All right, guys, and now it's going to get a little bit harder. So,
Great. I'm so glad I have a half a point so far.
yeah. All right, maybe not. This one might be, here we go. The
Stupid
world,
SK. Go ahead.
the World Trees Guardian.
Oh.
Concede.
Oh, no.
Not even close. The World Tree's Guardian?
World
Yeah.
I'm trying to remember.
Oh, wait, hold on. Nope, that's an avatar. Is it the avatar guy?
I'm gonna try.
All right,
ahead.
Steph.
Unless you want to go, Jeremy, because you raised your
No,
hand.
go ahead.
Okay.
Go ahead.
So I don't know if it's this card, but I'm gonna try because this might actually be a card with Avatar in its same path as Jeremy.
Mhm.
But the card I'm thinking about is a green card that says it's 4/4 and it says when this card dies,
It is the card I was
or when this
thinking
card
of.
goes to the graveyard, switch your deck for another card called an Avatar and put in your hand.
Yeah, no, that is not that card. I will give you guys a hint. This card came out in Vingolf 3.
Holy crap.
Oh, I know what that is. No, wait.
The World Tree's
yeah,
Guardian?
I'm gonna guess, but I think
Golf
I'm
three.
gonna actually guess Yggdrasil and not actually that card. 2 colors, green and white. That's
Nope.
rests to big two.
That's Yggdrasil. I don't know, man. The World
Oh,
Tree's
I know this
Guardian.
card. I know this card. I
No,
got it.
you already had 2. You already had 2
Well, can I
strikes.
at least
Nope.
just say it? I don't have to get
Okay,
points.
you can say it if you want,
Okay,
yeah.
I know this card. I can't believe I
Yep.
played with this card infinitely. I can't believe I didn't remember this. It's 1 green. It's a 3/3, and it pay a green to give itself +2/+2 until end of turn.
Yeah, that is correct. It is
There you go.
1 mana 3/3. Because it's all fire breathing,
Oh, we just have a
basically.
playset of foils.
2
I-
to 0.5.
No, Steph gets
Feeling
no
behind.
points.
Yeah, I know, that's what I'm saying.
strikes.
Yeah,
2
yeah, yeah.
Oh.
to 0.5.
2 to 0.5. Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
Oh, I can't believe it.
So this one
Give me some
actually,
freaking Grim cluster cards, man. This stupid SKL rule.
hold on,
Anyway,
Jeremy, you might actually know this one because I think you played with. Anyway, the card is Alhamat's Mage Knight.
Alhamat's
Mage Knight. Obviously, it's an Alhamat related card,
Yeah,
and
go
you think
figure.
you played Alhamat, so I was hoping you might know it, but apparently not.
Alhamat's Mage Knight?
Alhamat's Mage
I know
Knight.
part of what it is, but I could never tell you its stat line.
Nope, I got nothing. Sorry.
No,
I never
So
played
it's-
that card with Alhamat.
I assumed you wouldn't. If Bremont was here, he would know this card.
Okay, so I'm going to tell you what I do know.
Okay.
And then maybe Jeremy can get it from
Sure.
there. I know it's a blue card, and I also know that when it comes into play, you get mana counters, right?
No, it's not correct.
Oh, never mind then. Okay, I don't know anything about it. It's not even a blue card? I thought it was
It is a blue card.
Okay, there you got that.
Yeah, I made this too hard. I feel so bad.
I'm
Alhamat's
literally
Mage
on the
Knight
bus.
is a blue and 1 5/7, and that is it.
It's just a
Oh,
vanilla.
The caveat is that the Resonator type is an ancient magic. So,
Oh, okay.
But for the rules of this game, it's just a 2 mana 5/7. You know what card I'm talking about now?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, it was in
Never,
the
never played
Cheshire.
with that.
It was in the Cheshire combo decks because you could play it as a 5/7 on like
Oh.
the turn that you're popping off with Cheshire Cat's Assistance and all that.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
Man.
Oh boy,
Man, Cal getting the points in the chat. Go Cal.
I might have made this too hard because it doesn't get easier from here, guys.
No, it's
That's
fine.
fine. That's fine.
I know
All
a
right,
lot of
still 2.5. Next card. Water Wind Knight.
I have no idea.
I never heard of this card before. Yeah, I
What
didn't know
set's
this
it
card.
from? Give us the hint.
This card is from RDE, and it's.
I'm gonna go out on a limb and say that card is
It's
water
from-
and wind attribute.
All right, Jeremy's got half a
RDE.
point so far.
Wait, it's from RDE is the hint he gave us. But
Yeah, it's from RDE.
Water wind night?
Yeah,
Just
I
go
think
look. I've got
it's a-
RDE over there. I'm
it's
just
a
gonna go look.
it's a Kaguya card, obviously. So it's
not really. Yeah, it's just like a random, like forcible filler common. It's a 4 mana, green, blue, and 2, 8/12 Were Rabbit. When this card enters your field, look at the top 4 cards of your deck and put them back in any order.
I don't even remember that card.
Oh yeah, that
I
card.
didn't remember
Yeah.
the card either. I
Nope.
saw it. I was like, I don't remember this card at all. This would be great to put on the list. All right.
Give me some Grim cards, because I'll get every one of them.
I don't have any. Maybe I will
No!
switch them for Grim cards. If you guys don't get any more of these, I'll like add a Grim card because I did have some Grim cards I was thinking about. All right, next up is ready? Man
Oh, I have
Servant.
1 point. I have 1 point.
Yeah, I'm gonna give you half a point for that.
Dope.
Canon. So 2-1. Manservant to the Water God. If you want it, Jeremy, it's you.
That's also an RDE card, if I remember
It is.
correctly.
Yeah, that's correct.
Um,
I think you might know this. I believe in you.
I'm just thinking, I can picture the card in my head, but not what it does because I never freaking used it.
Mhm.
I remember the name, but I don't know.
I think I believe it's a 3-drop. That sounds familiar. Manservant to the Water God.
Funny thing is, I do
Is
all
the,
these.
it doesn't
spoilers.
have isn't it? Is it the Water Magic Stone one? The one that actually acts as a Water Magic Stone?
Do you know its stat line?
I want to say it's like really weak in the attack. I think it's something like a something 9, like a 2/9.
Let me know
It's one
your
person
final
and it's
answer.
a 6/6 the Water Magic Stone.
Yeah. All right. We'll go ahead and
Is that
give you
right?
both half a point for that one. Yeah, because it is the Water Magic Stone Resonator and it is blue, but yeah, it's a 2-mana 6/6.
6/6.
Okay.
Yeah. So we're gonna give half a point to each, so 1.5 to 2.5.
Perfect.
Next up, if either of you get this one, I'll be impressed. Bahamut the Dragonoid. All right, Jeremy.
So this is it's from Echoes of the New World. It's a Will of Despair. It has.
How do you know this?
It's the 3. I think it's the 3-drop triple red, and it's a 5. I want to say it's a 5/5. And when it comes into play, you get to pick one of 2 modes. You can either put 5 +1/+1 counters on it, or burn something for a grand of damage. I think that's about right. The number of counters might be wrong, and I think it has some simple skills, but I can't quite remember that.
That's very, very close. Steph, if you want to try and finish it up,
The
I'll
only
give you a
thing he's
chance.
missing is flying, right?
Does not have flying.
Yeah, I couldn't
What
tell.
is the Bahamut card?
Yeah.
It's the Bahamut that looks like a person
Oh, okay.
From-
I don't know.
from Echoes.
Yeah. So Jeremy, we're gonna give you a point for this one. But it does cost 3 red and 1.
Is it the cost? It is
and this card gains flying as long as there's a +1/+1 counter on it.
Was I right on the number of counters?
Yes, you were correct on that.
And the stat line?
Yes, you were correct on both of those. So we're gonna give you half a point for that. So you're up to
full
2.
point. Excuse me. You said I have a full point.
Ooh.
I'll take it. I was off on just Steph. Do we give it a full point and let it be a tie game? Let her decide my fate.
Steph can decide.
Chat decides my fate.
I thought it was pretty generous giving you half a point for the water wind night just by saying it was water wind.
That's fair. I'll take my half. I'll take my half point here.
All right, so 2 total for Jeremy to Steph's 2.5. All
Yeah.
right, 2 left, guys. So getting down to the final round here.
Here we go.
And again, this card, if you had mentioned this card name to me, I would have never even known that it existed. I would have thought you were talking about like a magic card or something. The card name is Ancient Bauble.
Oh, I've heard of that card actually.
Ancient
That's colored,
Bauble.
but I don't know anything else. Because there's a magic card that has a very similar name.
Isn't it?
And that is Bauble, not
I think it's.
Bo.
Is this from Return of the Dragon Emperor?
No.
Okay, so that shifts my colors perspective.
I think it's still New Frontiers legal.
No.
Oh, never mind.
This was the NW.
Oh, this was Echoes?
Mm-hmm.
That's like the one set I don't know anything from.
Ancient Bauble. Give me a color, because I think I'm close.
I'm going to tell you guys that the color of this card is white.
It's white.
I'm going to tell you guys the first word of the card.
Okay.
First word on the card is bestow.
Wait a minute. Isn't this the edition where you like tap to bestow it, and it like gets +2? I think it like +2/+2, and then it recovers on block. Like whenever you block, you get +2/+2 when you recover.
How much does it cost?
It's 1 white, right?
How much does it cost to bestow?
1 white.
That's it. You got it.
All right,
Nice.
Piece it together.
I was like, as soon as he said bestow, and you're like an addition that taps to bestow.
Yeah, shut up. I was trying to like get the whole effect.
Yeah.
Nope. Bestows instant speed. Bestows now instant speed. We've completely changed the rules.
That was the correct. That'll be a full point. So Jeremy, 3.
I'm in the lead. Hooray on the last
Give me a grim
card.
card.
Last card.
Ooh.
This is a. Is this a grim card? I don't think this is a grim card. No, this is out. Sorry, I wasn't prepared for a grim. If you can get half a point, Steph, we get to a tiebreaker. I'll do a grim card.
Okay.
The card is Ragnide Gas.
Jeremy wins.
It's the Ragnite gas.
Yeah.
Oh, I think
It's from RE.
it's one.
but-
It's wait, Ragnite. Ragnite gas.
DE Ragnide.
Ragnide.
Yeah, it's
So
like
this
Ragnide with a D.
Isn't this from Vingolf 2?
Maybe.
It is from Vingolf 2,
Oh,
and
it
it's
is, never
one.
mind.
It's 1 black spell chant instant. No. It's the 2-drop, 1 black, 1 colorless spell chant instant. Target J/Res gains -5/-5 until end of turn.
Discount space time anomaly. That is correct. So
Boom!
Jeremy pulling out ahead there. That one was absolutely solid. So Jeremy with 4 points, Steph with 2.5. Obviously some wishy-washiness in the points, kind of, but at the end there, it's a full point lead. So Jeremy is our champion for my super hard, apparently.
I just remember looking at Ragnite Gas because Dark Purge was in the format, and I went, "This is just worse Dark Purge."
Yeah, it was like just worse than like every card you could possibly play in that slot, and I thought the name was kind of funny because I'm just like looking through the list of like Vingolf cards. And,
the second you said Ragnite, I was like, well, that's a Vingolf 2 card.
Yeah. All right, well there you go. Looks like Jeremy's hosting again next week. That's good.
Yeah,
because we need to bring like Steph back and be like, all right, Steph, it's the end of the show. Come quiz us on some card names.
Oh, there you go. Yeah.
Well, that is actually going to be it for us tonight, Steph. So thanks so much for having you come. Hold on, I'm going to stop and restart because my brain shut off for a second. Okay.
Oh, Jeff's stream is live now. If we're gonna go check that out,
sweet.
actually.
Everybody go hang out with Jeff and get
I'm gonna
away
do
from
that.
talking with us. So thank you guys so much for watching. We will see you guys next time. Steph, again, thank you so much for joining us. And as always, this has been myself, Demo73, and Ryan. And we will catch you guys back here next week on Monday on our normal time for the Teachers Lounge with the whole crew back together. So until then, have a great time. Bye.
Bye, everybody. All right.